Alright guys, welcome back to Newsboy Hoy. We rate movies, we play Legos, and all sorts of... So, to start off, it's about 2 weeks since the last part, and the main character, who we're going to give a legit name, because the last name I had, I think it was like Bob or something like that, and I didn't like it very much, so I'm going to name him Joseph, and so the main character's name is now Joseph, and he's been looking into what happened in the case of Dr. Fitz. Now, not only is there 11 students, there's 8 of them were, had a bad background. 8 of them had criminal records, and they had been in the police records. Since this guy's a cop, Joseph's a cop. This part, or otherwise you will not know what's going on. So it's set in Washington. I'm going to go back and set it up real quick. So it's set in Washington during May. And the leader, and so there's 8 there's the 8, and so out of the 8, the leader of the 8 his name is Slick. He's a criminal, and they're called the Rebels. Now, these guys, when Dr. Fitz died, and he scattered the battery parts to a bunch of different people, trusting them in it, or them just getting scattered and lost somewhere. The 8, and nobody would take them. And so now, nobody will still take them because Dr. Fitz won't take them in, because even though they are smart, they are criminals. And so now they're arms dealers, and they figure out they're like, well, if we can get all this power from this battery, we can get some really powerful weapons. So they're okay with causing destruction as long as it makes them. He knows that, well, he doesn't know where to find them, but he knows that they're out there somewhere and that he can track them down later. But he doesn't really need them. He needs to figure out where the part of the battery is, and if Dr. Fitz knew that these 8 were bad guys, then he would know not to trust them with any of the pieces. And he knows that they are looking for it, which means they must not know where the pieces are, because if they're looking for the pieces, then that'd be kind of dumb, right? Anyway, so Joseph tracks down the other 3, and he questions them. Now, these guys are really self-conscious, alright? Their mentor pretty much just died, and they don't know what to do. And so, they doubt this guy first. They're like, alright, show us that you're a cop, and it takes them a little while to trust them. Now, there's 3 of them. John and Linda are 2 of them. They're about 30 years old. They're married. They have 1 kid. And then there's this kid. He's like 18, 19. He was really smart. He was working there as a high school student. He wasn't working there that much, but he was helping with the battery enough because he was really smart. He was a really good science kid. His name's Bolton. And so, he asked them, he's like, alright, now, do you know anything that might have happened to this battery? And they're like, well, not that I know of, but, he's a cop, and he's not just a cop, he's a very good cop, so he can tell that they're lying. And so he's like, alright, now, what's really going on here? Because, I know that y'all know something. They're like, alright, listen. He told us to keep it in this secure location. It's in an old warehouse. Nobody's used it in 2 years. That's all I have to say. I know there's a lot of old warehouses in my stories, but it's just what I can come up with off the top of my head. So it's in a secure location. It's fine, guys. It's fine, Mr. Joseph, whatever you want to call him. But we really don't need anybody getting to it. He trusted us with it because he knew what could happen if some really bad guys got to it. It could cause, catastrophic, pain, I guess. So, but they tell him, and they're like, alright, you can go get it, but you gotta make sure you're not being followed, okay? They're like, alright, here's the keys. They had put, a special lock on it, and they had used some of their, science guru stuff to make it not invisible, but, just look not like something that would store anything. They made it look a lot older than it was, using some tech and just some, old-fashioned paint and disguises. So, he's like, alright. So he goes back, he checks to make sure they're not lying, and then he comes back and he's like, alright, now are y'all gonna come with me? And when he gets back, Linda is gone. She's kidnapped, and she was kidnapped by Slick and the rebels. So he doesn't know what to do. He's like, oh no, she's been kidnapped, which means they probably were tracking us somehow, or know that she knows where the part is. Now, they're looking right now for the first part of the thing. That's 5 parts. The battery, the big old battery, power or destroy the city, or maybe the Earth. I have to check back on that, what I said in the last video about this. But, so Linda is scared and pressured into telling them. And she had worked with these guys before, and she knew they were just kind of turds. Like, they were smart, but they were, like, just mean. And so they pushed it out of her, and Bolton and John and Joseph go to the place where it is. You know, they go to the warehouse, and they're kind of racing the other guys, because the other guys are going. It's 3 of Slick's boys, we're just going to call them 3 of the rebels, and they're racing against Joseph and 2 of the good guys to try to find this piece. Now, they both get there at the same time, and they have this kind of like tumble, okay? So, they all have guns. Well, not all of them. All of the rebels do, and Joseph does. So, and he has a pair of handcuffs and a taser. So, he tries to shoot them, and they duck. They shoot his hand, but it just hits the gun, but it ricochets off enough that it makes him drop the gun. But luckily, John dives, and grabs the gun and picks it up and tries to shoot him. And just this big old, like, crazy brawl. But pretty much what happens is everybody loses their guns, and one of the rebels is down. He got hit in the leg with a bullet, and he's down, right? Now, the other 2, they get the battery piece, and they're running away, and then Joseph goes right after them and picks up his gun again, because there's guns all over the ground. There's like 3 of them, so he goes and picks up one, and he's running after him, and then he's shooting at him, and they keep ducking, and they jump back and hit him right in the side. They hit him in the side with the gun, with a bullet, not with the gun, obviously, but like, you know, and he goes flying back, and he hits the wall, and he's hurt, and it actually, you'll figure out later that it broke one of his ribs, so he's really hurt, and he drops. But then the one guy that got shot in the leg tries to get away. Now he needs something to question them, to where he can figure out, okay, like, I know where these guys are now. I need to know where they are so I can go get that piece, because if they get all of them, then they can build that battery, start building arms, you know, like, he's figuring it out. And so he's like, alright, I need to question them no matter what. So, sorry that I had to cut that short real quick. I didn't want to repeat all that, and my audio just stopped for a second. So pretty much what was going on is no matter what, he needed to get one of them, so he pulls out his taser, and he tases the guy that's trying to get away that got shot in the leg, and he's able to capture them. Well, he's able to just tase them, and they're both down, and then he calls for backup, and so that's pretty much how part 2 ends.